Today I'm going to be changing the engine oil in the Briggs and Stratton small engine on a push lawnmower. I'm just going to go through the steps with you right quick. First thing you want to do before you start is make sure you have your oil ready and have the correct type of oil. Most of your Briggs and Stratton engines are going to use a straight 30 weight oil. I've always used straight 30 weight oil in it. Another thing to keep in mind, you have some 30 weight oils that's a standard automotive grade that has detergents in it, and you have some that are non-detergent oil. They don't have the extra additives to help lubricate and clean the engine out like the detergent oil does. If it's a non-detergent, usually on the label somewhere around the weight it will say non-detergent. A lot of the older engines use non-detergent oil, but the thing is, when you use non-detergent oil, you have to stick with it from the time it was new. If you go to a detergent oil, you never want to go back to a non-detergent oil, because what happens is that engine gets used to having them extra additives to help clean and lubricate it better, and then you take away all that and go back to just a pure oil like that, it can start causing excessive engine wear and eventually ruin the engine. Now you want to go ahead and flip the mower over on its side to access the drain plug. And you can see the drain plug's right here. The only thing you do is just fit a 3/8 inch ratchet in there. Most of the time I put about a 6-inch extension on it so I can get to it easier. Break it loose. Break it loose. I'm just going to loosen it up enough to where I can get my fingers on it to unscrew it once I turn it back over. You don't want to take it all the way out before you flip it back over, because you want to have your drain pan ready and all before you start making a mess everywhere. Then turn your mower back over. I'm just going to lay it on top of this drain pan right here. What I'm going to do is lift it up just a little bit while I got that drain plug area over the drain pan. I'm going to reach up there, finish unscrewing that drain plug. Take it on out. Then you want to have this as level as possible on your drain pan so you get all the oil out of it. And another thing I do, I remove the dipstick from it so you get better ventilation through the crankcase. And I always just give it a few minutes to sit there so I get all the oil out, as much of it as possible. Once it starts getting low, it's just going to kind of drip out. I always wear gloves when I remove oil drain plugs like that, just to keep that used oil off my hands. I don't know how true it is, but they do say that used motor oil can cause cancer over time as it absorbs through your skin and to your body. Take a shop rag or something and just wipe your oil drain plug clean so you don't have any trash on it. Then put it back in. Snug it up with your wrench. You don't want to over tighten it to where you strip it out. You just want to get snugged up real good. You don't want to go too crazy on it where you can't ever get it out again. One thing also to keep in mind before you start draining the oil out, it's good to have the blade turned to where the oil can go past the blade ain't in the way of it. If you really want to be peculiar about it, you can always remove the blade before you do it so you know you don't get any oil on it. Different models and horsepower sizes of the engines are going to have a different oil capacity. From my research, this size right here is a 6.75 horsepower, 190cc engine. It's supposed to hold about 22 fluid ounces of oil, somewhere between a half, 2/3, 3/4, somewhere around that area. If you're unsure, you can always start off with about a half a quart of oil and then check it. If it's a little too much, you can always drain a little out. If it's not enough, you can add to it. I just start about a half a quart, and then if it needs a little bit more, I just add just a little bit at a time till I get it there. You can always use a funnel if you don't want to spill any. In most of your oil containers, it's got a little sight glass on the side of it right here, so you can see how much oil you've used out of it. Wipe your dipstick off with a clean towel or rag. Stick it in there. Turn it all the way in. Let it sit there for a few seconds. Pull it out. Always keep in mind that the oil is still draining down, so you want to give it a few minutes to finish running down into the crankcase. My oil level is right in between the two dots on the stick. Once you get in between them two dots right there, it's a little hash area right there. That's the acceptable range between the add and the full mark. Once you get the oil in that range, then it's best just to stick it there instead of overfilling it. If you overfill your oil, then the oil can't circulate through the engine properly. Never overfill your oil. If you add too much, always drain some out. Once you get the oil in an acceptable level, it's a good idea to crank the engine up, let it run for a few minutes to get that oil flowing through there, and cut it back off. Let it sit for a few minutes, about 10-15 minutes, let the engine cool just a little bit, and then check your oil level again. Check your oil level one last time. There you have it. That's the oil change on a Briggs and Stratton small engine on a push lawnmower. One tip I have for you is every time you get ready to use your lawnmower, always check the engine oil, because you never want to run it low in oil. You can do a whole lot of damage. Small engines are subject to burning oil once they start getting a little older. They'll sometimes leak and stuff, so it's always a good idea to check it every time, because lawnmowers may sit for a week or two at a time during the grass cutting season, and you may not be aware of any oil you're losing during that time it's sitting. Thank you for checking out my video. If you liked it, please remember to give it a thumbs up. If you haven't already done so, please subscribe to my channel.